رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله مالك يوم الدين. الصراط المستقيم صراط الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الصمد لم يلد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله أوله بلا أول كان قبل وآخره بلا آخر يكون بعده الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا حبيبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل وعليه الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم وغاصبي حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ومناقبهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. تقبل الله أعمالكم. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all your fasting, your prayers, your du'as, your services. In this month, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon our marhumin and increase their daraja and bring them closer to Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam. As the Prophet have mentioned that this month is a very special month, is a month of mercy, is a month of freedom from sins, is a month of acceptance of du'as. As the Prophet clearly says that if the person is not forgiven in this month, then he is very misfortune. That this month came in which forgiveness and mercy and rahmah and barakah was there in this month, and one did not utilize that, one did not connect to that mercy that was there. And all of the activities that we have in this month in terms of service towards the people, towards the mu'mineen, because there are two things. One is giving iftar and the other is it'am. Both are recommended. Iftar is a person when he provides just something to break the fast, which is giving iftar. It'am is the food that is given usually after iftar. And both are recommended. Both are highly recommended to be given. And that's what we see, alhamdulillah, the mu'mineen, they participate in that. And it is only this month which have that opportunity and that sort of energy in us to take charge and do this. This energy that comes from the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the du'as of our seniors, of our parents, the goodness that they have done. All of these things align together to create that opportunity for us to fulfill that. In the continuation of our discussion, we've been speaking about there are 4 domains in which we have to improve ourselves in our relationship, and our relationship should have the element of servitude, of ubudiyat. First domain we spoke about was that our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how it should be, what should be the basis of our relationship, which we spoke about ma'rifat, which we spoke about iman, which we spoke about zikr. All of that is our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our relationship with Allah should be based on ma'rifat. Our relationship with Allah should be based on iman. Our relationship with Allah should be based upon the dhikr, the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The detail of that was discussed. Then we started speaking about the second domain is our relationship with our own self. There is a responsibility, there is a haqq, there is a right. As you may know that there is a very beautiful risala which is known as Treatise on Right, Risale Huquq of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. It will not be bad that, once in a while, every now and then, we kind of look into these things, right? Even if that be on a surface level reading, perhaps we may not have the commentary, we may not have the sort of detailed discussion of it, but it will be nice that if we even have that surface reading of these things. Like, for example, Risale Huquq Imam Sajjad is very beautiful. It kind of looks at the haqq of Allah, then after that it looks at the haqq of the nafs. The same way, the relationship of the nafs that we have, the haqq of our eyes, the haqq of our ears, the haqq of the tongue, so on and so forth. So in this second domain, which is our relationship with our own self, we spoke about last night the moderation that a person, first we spoke about taskiyatun nafs, that our relationship with our nafs should be purification of the soul. And then after that, last night we spoke about moderation, how it is important. In Khutbah Muttaqeen of Amirul Mu'mineen in Nahjul Balagha, that's another very rich text that is very important for us to every now and then read a khutbah, read a letter, read an anecdote or a saying or a hadith of Imam Masoom in relation to the things that he has mentioned. Nahjul Balagha is fabulous, it's fascinating. Many people have translated that into English. One of the recent translation that came out is by Tahira Qutbuddin, the daughter of the Ismaili Imam Burhanuddin, who passed away. He made a translation, and it's a PDF, and it's available online, and it's free, if you want to check it out. Khutbah Muttaqeen is one of the sermon which Amirul Mu'mineen gave to his ashab when one of the ashab, known as Hammam, his name was Hammam, forced him to describe the qualities of Muttaqeen. What are the qualities of Muttaqeen, how they are, right? Because this month is month so that we acquire taqwa, right? As the Quran says that, Kutiba alaykumus siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablik. Fasting have been prescribed to you the way it was prescribed for the previous nations. So fasting is something that is part and parcel of religiosity, whether it be Abrahamic faiths or whether that be Far Eastern religions. Fasting is one of the tenets in all religions. It's part and parcel of it. Because fasting brings about taqwa. Fasting brings about, in all religions, fasting brings about nearness to God, qurb. Remember we talk about Hazrat Maryam Salamullah alayha, she was asked to fast of not speaking. Look at her fast was so powerful that allowed Isa to speak. Because la'allakum tattaqun. Because fasting will bring about taqwa, God wariness, God consciousness. Her fast was so powerful, the effect of her fast was that Isa spoke, right? So fasting, as it says, Kutiba alaykumus siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablik. For what? What's the purpose of it? La'allakum tattaqun, so that you become God-wary, so that you become muttaqi. Muttaqi means somebody who's God conscious, somebody who's mindful of Allah in all umur, in all affair. Then only the Quran will become a book of guidance. Alif Lam Mim dhalikal kitabu la rayba fi hudan lil muttaqin. The Quran is a guide for muttaqin, those who have taqwa. And as a matter of fact, taqwa is the God-wariness and God consciousness, and not a particular God as such. That's why even those who are not Muslims, they are moved by the Quran, because they have the element of God consciousness in them. They have that humanity in them. If anybody have that humanity and insaniyat in them, they will love Quran. They will be moved by the Quran, because hudal lil muttaqin. If I am saying that muttaqi is a person who should believe in usul ad-din and furu ad-din, and this is how it should be, it doesn't really make sense. Then the Quran is only for Muslims. But Allah is saying Quran is a universal book. It's for everybody. So the Quran is a hudal lil muttaqin. It's about muttaqin. So people who are muttaqi, who have that humanity, that fitrat, that nature, they are moved by the Quran. So fasting, la'allakum tattaqun. We are fasting in order that we accumulate, that we acquire mindfulness and qurb and taqwa. Imam Ali alayhi salam in Nahjul Balagha in Khutbah Muttaqeen described the qualities of muttaqeen. It is something that, as the fasting is for that, so for us is a homework. What's the homework for us? That we go and we look at what is Khutbah Muttaqeen. How Hazrat Amir is describing what type of individuals are muttaqeen. Masumin alayhi salam, when they are talking about muttaqeen, or for example when Quran is talking about munafiqeen, Surah Munafiqeen, or mu'mineen, Surah Mu'mineen, for example, when the Quran is talking about, that means that we have to look whether I have this quality or not, right? Is these names or these khutbats or these du'as, even in du'as, for example, you have munajat of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala there are 15 munajat of Imam Sajjad, which are very famous. It's in Mafati or in other places you may find as well. Munajat Arifin, Munajat Muhibbin, Munajat Shakin, Munajat Tawwabin, Munajat, in Muhibbin. All of these munajat are describing the qualities and the attributes that an Arif has. For example, if it's Munajat Arifin, if we read that, in it is that this is how the Urafa are. Or Muhibbin, this is how the Muhibbin are vis-a-vis Allah. Munajat Shakin, those who are doing shikwa, those who are complaining, the complainers. These are the qualities that are there in the complainers. So if a person have those qualities, he should really refrain from those by the tamassuk, by the tawassul, by the seeking help, by innovation, by the intercession of these munajat and connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So khutbah muttaqeen of Amirul Mu'mineen wa albasahum al-ikhtisad. One of the qualities of muttaqeen is that their libas is ikhtisad. Ikhtisad means moderation. Ikhtisad as in Arabic, as in Farsi or Urdu as well, we say ikhtisad means something balance. They are moderate. So their libas, their libas as in, their appearance or the way they are. Muttaqeen are those people, those who are moderate. This was one of the points which I wanted to mention last night as we discussed that our relationship with ourselves should be with moderation. We should not push or force ourselves so much that we go to the extreme, because extremism is wrong. Whether that be even in our religion as well, that we force, especially when it comes to children. We should not push them and force them so much that it backfires. There has to be a balance with them. Right? There has to be a balance, and not to the extreme that we don't really speak or talk about religion at all, for instance. Right? We have to have that balance to teach them, to educate them, at the same time give them that freedom by which they themselves can choose and decide. Right? So now tonight we will look at our relationship with ourselves should be a relationship where we should be truthful to ourselves. Sidq. The quality of sidq and truthfulness is very important. That I should be, yes, indeed, this quality, as we said, that moderation is also in relationship to others as well, in relationship to Allah as well, right? Truthfulness is also a quality that could be in relationship with oneself as well, and with others as well, that I should be truthful to you, but I should be truthful to myself as well. I should be sadiq, because as it says that, in one of the verses of the Quran, it says that, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullah, O people who are, be God-wary, be, God conscious, be muttaqi, and waqulu qawlan sadida, and say something that is truthful. Right after taqwa, speaking is mentioned. Taqwa is something that is an inner quality. It is inside. And from this taqwa, things manifest out. If a person is generous, the person is generous because he is muttaqi. If a person is humble, the person is humble because he is muttaqi. A person is truthful because this person is muttaqi. A person is just because he is muttaqi. Taqwa is one of the sources and beauty which contains all of the good qualities. It is in that taqwa. It's a phenomena, it's a reality, that is overly emphasized by the Masumeen, by the Quran, by the Prophet. That's why you would find that in Salatul Jummah, it is wajib that every Friday the Imam Jummah should remind people of taqwa. That's why you would see that even the khutbah of Masumeen alayhi salam, the Friday sermons, the first thing they say that, Usikum ibadallah bi taqwallah. I advise you all, ibad, worshippers of Allah, for taqwa. I advise myself, Usikum nafsi bi taqwallah. The khutbah of Amirul Mu'mineen, which he recited on the day of Eid, which is in Mafatiul Junah as well. You see the beginning part is taqwa. He's reminded of taqwa. Fasting, la'allakum tattaqun. It is to create that mindfulness and God-wariness in us. So, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, be God-wary, have taqwa, and speak the truth. So truthfulness is also a quality which is required to have for ourselves as well. We have to be truthful to ourselves. I may not have the capacity, but I'm trying to say that, oh, I know everything. People tend to show that, for example, oneself is knowledgeable, or oneself doesn't really need any advice. If somebody tells somebody as an advice, they get upset. For example, why are you telling me? Because I know, right? So we sometimes believe that we have everything, all the knowledge, and we don't really need to acquire knowledge. The second part of our discussion tonight will be, our relationship with ourselves should be the thirst of knowledge, that we should have thirst of knowledge. That's how we should be. Now, in regards to the truthfulness, right after taqwa, it talks about truthfulness. A person has to be truthful to oneself. A person should not lie oneself. A person should not rely on oneself or expect oneself to be something which is not. And that's where, problems occur. Now, in another ayah of the Quran says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullah wa kunu ma'as sadiqeen. In Surah Tawbah there is a verse which says that, O people, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, is referring to the mu'mineen. Quran refers to the Ya ayyuhal insan, Ya ayyuhan nas. And this is particular to the mu'mineen, meaning that these people have iman. As we spoke about iman, it's a higher daraja of Islam. The Arab comes and tell the Prophet that I have brought, we have brought iman. The Prophet said, no, tell you have brought Islam. Iman is something higher. And we spoke about that. So now here it says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, people who have iman. Even after having iman, Allah is reminding that because there is a possibility that their person can be a mu'min, can be negligence, could be forgetful. He's saying, oh, people who have brought iman, ittaqullah, be God wary as well at the same time. Have taqwa as well at the same time. A person can be mu'min and could fall trap of shaitan or become forgetful, for instance, just slips, right? Then it says, ittaqullah. And not only that, even after being God wary and God conscious, have taqwa and have iman and taqwa, but at the same time, وَكُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ. Also be with the truthful ones. Community is very important. Being with a community is very important. Not being a loner. Not being alone. That's why when it comes to, for example, recommendation for Jamaat prayer, which is highly recommended to perform Jamaat, the Prophet had said that even if you are blind and you can tie a rope to the masjid from the house, tie a rope and go to the masjid for Jamaat prayer because of that community. One thing just in the margin I'll mention here, which I mentioned it earlier as well, you can add to that when we are talking about dua, and we have to be very obedient to the dua and not adding things to the dua. For example, one of the things is that, du'as and munajat are usually personal relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's something that is personal, me with my Allah. But what had happened is that a bit of a change, the community have evolved. And we have dua kumail, and we have this dua and this amal in public, for example, which we perform. This was not, seen as such in the early days of Islam. Only for Jama'at prayer, that was something that was recommended. We don't see that the Masumin have promoted as such the way that Jamaat prayer has been promoted as du'as, unless or until if there be a famine. There is no rain. They will say, oh, all go together for Jamaat, all together in a group you should go. Or there be Eid, for example, all together, go, for example, for this and that and the other. But as in certain du'as and munajat, those are individual things to have that, that focus, that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, as things have evolved and we have come to a stage where all of these du'as are being pushed and promoted and encouraged to have in public, there's benefit in it, but at the same time we have to be aware of how things have changed. Being aware is also important, so that one have that personal sort of time and relationship of these munajat, of these du'as with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's very important as well. Not just, now the other thing is that sometimes we push so much, for this Jamaat, du'as, community, there's a there's a backlash, there's a backfire of that, people just don't respect or don't come at all, for instance, so that aspect should be also considered, salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullah wa kunu ma'as sadiqin, and be with the truthful ones, those who are truthful, those who always speak the truth. They themselves have become truthful. Not just that they speak the truth, but they themselves. When a person is truthful and speaks the truth all the time, that person becomes sadiq, that person becomes truthful. So the Quran is saying, have taqwa, have iman, have taqwa, and with the truthful ones. And then when we look at the definition of the true truthful ones in the Quran, we clearly see that the truthful ones are no one who are the Anbiya. And also we find that the truthful ones are those, the Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam, who are purified by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. So being with the truthful, it becomes important. Community becomes important, right? So we have, alhamdulillah, Ghadir and Mu'mineen and a community. It is very important that we engage, we participate, we attend, we come here, we make an effort. Even if that be so that, we are gathering for iftar and perhaps we're going to miss out on certain things, even just coming for the Jamaat prayer and iftar together with the Mu'mineen, why? Because it's وَكُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ, being with the truthful ones, right? Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Recite another salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, another place that we find the element of community and community building being mentioned is in the case of Surah Asr, where it says, wal asri innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus salihat wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. It's Mu'mineen as a group, as a community, they are patient and at the same time they promote, they stay on haqq and they are promoting, for example, being patient. So once again, the issue of community becomes important. So those who are truthful, they will be the one who will be patient. Those who are truthful, they will be the one who will be promoting, being patient as well. Now, as we said that we are also going to be jumping onto the another quality which is very important. Very briefly, I mentioned the issue of truthfulness, and that is being thirsty for ilm. We should be always acquiring. Utlubul ilm min al-mahad ila al-lahad, that the Prophet have mentioned. That seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. Now there are two types of knowledge, as we were discussing earlier as well. One is a type of knowledge which is knowledge by acquiring. Ilm husuli, you hasil, you acquire knowledge. That we learn, we read, we educate oneself by reading and learning, the formal teaching process that, teaching and learning process that we have. One should be, that's why, the Quran clearly points out to that race is not the criteria, money is not the criteria, right? Work, job, station, maqam is not the criteria. The criteria is, inna akramakum indallah atqakum, taqwa is the criteria. And the Quran also mentions that is those who are knowledgeable and those who are not knowledgeable equal? They are not equal. The knowledgeable ones are obviously ulil albab, they are the knowledgeable one, they are the higher, they have a higher status. So ilm becomes one of the reality by which a person is higher and nearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is that ilm, right? And ilm, with taqwa, sometimes you may have certain people who may have the knowledge, but the element of taqwa is not there. That's why it's very important to have that taqwa as well, right? That's why Quran continuously, it always kind of points out to that, have iman but have taqwa as well. So ilm, knowledge, is something that is as Hazrat Amir mentions, that it's a lost treasure of a mu'min, it's a miras of a mu'min. So if we claim ourselves to be a mu'min, we should be always engaging in educating ourselves. Spending some time to read. We have to read. But these days, mashallah, we have so many text messages being forward. Our time is captured by reading those things. Because our mind have a capacity of, focusing and reading. You know, we like to read. We like to, because that's how our nafs is. We like, know things. But if that is filled with other type of reading, our mind becomes tired. So it's always better to focus on productive reading, productive learning. Learn. As Hazrat Amir says that a mu'min is the one whose one day is not different to the previous day. Every day a mu'min learns something new. We have to increase knowledge every day, right? So there are two types of knowledge, as we said. One is a knowledge where we acquire. And the other is a knowledge by our presence, by our huzur. Ilme husuli wa ilme huzuri. By the presence. Now, what do we mean by the presence is in our wujud, for example, certain things by your nafs, regardless of whether you've gone to a education or a university or a house or not, inside that certain things are zulm. It's not correct, it's not right. From inside nobody have taught you. It is something by your huzur, by your presence. Ilme husuli that we are acquiring helps open up our heart to ilme huzuri. And ilme huzuri, which is knowledge by presence, is the highest form of knowledge, and that's the true knowledge. And that's where we are supposed to target or reach, to have that ilme huzuri, by our presence, by our whole wujud, right? Now, how a person reaches to that ilme huzuri? By acquiring knowledge and implementation of that knowledge. As it says that, ittaqullah wa yu'allimukumullah. If a person becomes God conscious, whatever a person learns, as Hazrat Amir mentions, that whatever you learn, put that into practice, put that into amal, whether that be even a little thing, right? Whatever we learn, that's why Hassan Zadeh used to mention that there's so many books of du'as. There's Aqbalul Amal, there's Muniyatul Murid, there's Misbahul Murid, there's Mafatiul Jinnah, and mashallah, du'as we have. Du'as at 1 hour before sunset, 1 hour after sunset, during the sunset. A whole day, if somebody looks at the amount of du'as that we have, du'a of Monday, du'a of Tuesday, du'a of this hour, du'a of that hour, du'a going to the restroom, du'a inside the restroom, du'a coming outside the restroom, du'a going to, so many du'as. So if somebody engages in that, one will be doing nothing but du'as. There will be nothing left, right? But Hassan Zadeh said, at least once in a lifetime, you should read that dua that has come from a masoom. At least once in a lifetime. So that means that at least what we have learned, at least we have put that into practice. Once we put that into practice, this becomes part and parcel of our nafs and soul. Our amal becomes part and parcel of our nafs. That we have performed that, we have done that. It becomes one with our nafs. That becoming one with the nafs is actually opens the gate for ilme huzuri, opens our heart for ilme huzuri. That's what happened. Prophet was aware of the tazkiyah and purification, if you look at it. And he practiced it. As he practiced it, he performed meditation, du'as, prayers in the cave of Hira. Eventually it reaches to the point where وَأَسْرَى بِعَبْدِهِ اللَّيْلِ مِنَ الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ إِلَى الْمَسْجِدِ الْأَقْصَى. In one night, because of those practices that the Prophet have performed, what he has learned, Allah took him from Masjid al-Haram to Masjid al-Aqsa and وَقَابَ قَانَ قَابَ قَوْسَيْنِ أَوْ أَدْنَى, to the highest level, to the Qurb. It wasn't possible for a human being to perform that journey. It was only possible for a human being to perform that journey by the huzur, by the heart. That's why, as I always mention, that if Jibreel is the Aql Rasul can go to a certain point. But after that is Qalb Rasul. Right? So Aql reaches to a point with the khawf and raja, with the fear, with knowledge, we accumulate and understand. And the knowledge becomes very limited. It cannot fly any further. The aql reaches to its limit and it cannot fly any further, our rational, then the qalb goes. That's where the heart goes, right? That is why, those people who were against Imam Hussein alayhi salam, those who stopped Imam Hussein alayhi salam from going to Karbala, in one night they changed and they become awliya Allahi wa ahibba'u. Hur was somebody who was against Imam Hussein. He had, intention of even fighting, waging, just in the morning he decides to change, isn't it so? Right? How did it happen? Because he had the ilm and knowledge. He had the ilm. If your mother was not, that I know, I would have said the same thing to you. May your mother cry on you, said, right? Imam Hussein mentioned, may your mother cry. So he had the knowledge, he has that ilm husuli, he has that knowledge. But this ilm husuli took him and he believed in it, right? And he practiced it by not saying anything, by not responding to what Imam Hussein have mentioned, right? He took charge of his nafs and he controlled his nafs. He was angry as well that somebody disrespecting me in this fashion. He controlled, he did not say. And then this brought those colors. This brought that light. That brought that ilm huzuri, where he becomes from the Rabbaniyun. In the Ziyarat of Shuhada we call, we address them as Rabbaniyun. Rabbaniyun are who? Rabbaniyun are those people who are closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And awliya Allahi wa ahibba'u, they are the awliya. They are the lovers of Allah. So they are the, they love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much, right? They are ahibba'u. And the sixth Imam, as I always mention, that they say the sixth Imam, may my life be sacrificed to the ashab of Imam Hussein. Their daraja is so high. How it happened? Why it happened? Because he had a bit of a knowledge that he acquired and he acted upon it. Then he was raised to a level of waliullah, where he became very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with his heart, with his presence and with his huzur. That knowledge came to him. That's why they say on the eve of Ashura, the ashab of Imam Hussein were able to see their maqam in barzakh. They were joking with each other. They were ready for it to sacrifice because they have reached to the peak of ilm huzuri. Everything was present in front of them. There was nothing hidden for them. The hijab, the veils were lifted, from their eyes. They were that close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They could see the reality and the truth. So a person we all always have to be accumulating understanding, trying to learn, dedicating, ourselves to gain knowledge, right? And we have to take small steps. As we said, we have to be truthful to ourselves. I'm preoccupied with so many things, but within this preoccupation that I have, I take out time. Maybe on a weekend, I dedicate 2 hours. Maybe during the weekday, I read something. I finish a book. I write few things in the margin of the book, certain notes, certain questions, so that I gain knowledge. Because the person who knows, as the Quran says, is not equal to the person who do not know. The person who knows is obviously have a daraja, obviously as a person. That's why there's the innama, certainly yakhshallahu min ibadihil ulama. Certainly those who have khushu, as we talk about khushu, that state of awe, not fear, that awe, however we translate as fear. Khushu are those who are from the ulama. The scholars, the ulama are the one who have that fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because as if they are seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fifth Imam Baqir alayhi salam says that even if it be so that you go to a person who have knowledge, who is a scholar, and learn one thing, the hadith says in Wasail Shia, learn one thing from this scholar, it is worth more than the dunya and whatsoever is in the dunya. Just one thing. If you learn something, it's more worth than the dunya and whatsoever is in the dunya. So it becomes very important that we should be on this path of educating ourselves. There are many examples, like for example, there was this Unwan Basri. There's a Hadith Unwan Basri. It's been translated, it's online. You can go and check. This Hadith Unwan Basri is a very practical hadith from the sixth Imam given to Unwan Basri, who was actually a Sunni maslak, right? And he comes to the sixth Imam and requests him to teach him, and he wanted to become a student of Imam Sadiq. He was 92 or 96 years old. And he comes and basically begs Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, even does tawassul to Rasulullah, goes to the qabr of Rasulullah, grave of Rasulullah, said, "Oh Allah, Ya Rasulullah, make the heart of your grandson soft so that he accepts me as a student." So eventually he comes, and Imam gives a hadith which is known as Hadith Unwan Basri. The English translation is there. Commentaries are there as well. Commentaries are there. There's a commentary of Sheikh Shumali online. There's a commentary of Ayatollah Muhammad Baqir Tahriri as well. You can find a book. It's called the it's called the I'm forgetting the name, but if you can Google it by the name of Baqir Tahriri Hadith Unwan Basri, you'll find it. I couldn't know the translation of it. It's also a Sharh Hadith Unwan Basri, it's called. It's a commentary on Unwan Basri. In any case, he comes to the Imam, and then Imam teaches him in regards to the ilm. In the very beginning, as we are talking about ilm, he says that al-ilmu nurun yaghzifu fi qalbi man yasha. Ilm is light, and Allah places this light in whomsoever Allah decided to place this light in the heart of that person. So knowledge is light. The reality and the truth, the existential reality of knowledge is light. So if a person have that light, what does light do? Light gets rid of fear. In a dark room, I'm afraid to go in because I may fall, there may be something on the floor. What do? I turn the light on. When the light is on, I'm not afraid because I have knowledge. So if I have knowledge, then I will not be afraid of anything. That's why the Quran says that awliya Allah la khawfun alayhim wa lahum yahzanun. The awliya are those who have no fear. Why? Because they have light. They have nothing to be afraid of. Everything is clear to them. They have that knowledge. So from the husuli aspect, from acquiring the knowledge, eventually it will reach to the huzuri. Eventually it will reach to a point. That's why Allah says, fi qalbi man yasha. Allah places this light in the heart of those whosoever Allah decides. That's a direct knowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Light coming directly from Allah. And the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, they were on that level. That's why when Hazrat Zainab was giving that khutbah, Imam Zainul Abidin said, Anti alimat bila muallima. You are an alima, you are a knowledgeable one without any teacher. When you have a teacher, there's a question of ilm husuli, acquiring knowledge. But if you don't have a teacher, ittaqullah wa yu'allimukumullah. Allah becomes that teacher. When Allah becomes that teacher, that is the yaghzifu fi qalbi man yasha. That's the light Allah places in the hearts of people. Because Allah is the teacher. And Allah transfers that light in the heart of the people. Right? And also, having said this in the margin, as the Prophet has said, make your akhlaq like the akhlaq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah is knowledgeable, then I have to make my akhlaq as being knowledgeable as well. It becomes my responsibility, according to the Prophet, that I have to gain knowledge. I have to acquire knowledge. Right? So, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam in Unwan Basri mentions to him this very beautiful hadith. It talks about ilm and the different ways of accumulating. For example, he says, one of the practical ways, he says that in which if you're not hungry, don't force yourself to eat, right? Because all of these dasturat, all of these sort of prescriptions that we find in the hadith of Unwan Basri, these are the prescription to accumulate the knowledge by huzur, by the presence, which is the highest form of knowledge. Because once we have that ilm huzuri, once we have that knowledge by presence, we will not go against it. Ilm husuli we may forget, or we may kind of escape. We don't want to practice. I know I have the knowledge that this sugar is not good for me, but sometimes I have the knowledge, right? But when I have some sort of attack because of having a reaction of that, I know there's a reaction if I eat this food, but I really like the food, but I still eat. Sometimes I have reaction, sometimes. But if I realize that this food that I'm eating have a bad reaction, by huzur I have understood, then I will never go towards that food, right? So ilm huzuri is that knowledge, is by our presence. And it will not allow us to go against, right? So that's why when we look at the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, they all have that ilm huzuri. It was very clear to them. It was right in front of them. It was not possible that shaitan can deviate. So if we That's why they become from the Salihin, as the Quran says that shaitan will never deviate the Salihin, those who are the Salihin. So if we acquire the knowledge and reach to the level of ilm huzuri for many things, for certain things, alhamdulillah, we will not do zulm, we will not do zulm for sure, right? But there's a different types of zulm. Zalamtu nafsi is there as well, right? So if we understand in the sense that we have that ilm huzuri, then we will be, in a very better shape. And our relationship, like I said, should be the relationship of that we should be always in thirst of knowledge. Our whole institution, our whole religion, our whole deen, iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, is the iqra, is the qara. What we have, what happened to us, where we have reached, that's another discussion in itself. They were the most advanced civilization in regards to knowledge when it comes to knowledge we had, right? Plus there's another different sort of, twist or approach in regards to the knowledge in terms of the nafs, like the philosophers that they have spoken about, which we kind of highlighted out, as in Plato, for him knowledge is actually recollecting, everything is here. It's just we have to bring it out. We have to bring the goodness. We are not acquiring these qualities of being truthful or being humble or of being sort of generous. All of that is here. We have to really become one with this reality of generosity, with this reality of ilm, which is ilm huzuri. So now when I am basically improving myself gradually, and then I will connect to that reality which is considered as ilm. When I am improving in terms of my generosity by giving gradually, I will reach to a point where I will become one with that sifated generosity, because Allah is generous. He is ghani, He is razikh, He is kind, He is latif, He is kareem, right? So I am becoming one with that quality, right? So this is another approach in regards to ilm huzuri. So all of that is here in our fitrat. And then by this gradual practice, I become one with that reality, that metaphysical reality, as in those names of Allah, if you want to call, or those good things that are there that we want to call, we become one with that. Once we become one with that, we have reached, and this is our journey. We will always be toiling, journeying towards those realities. In this dunya, in barzakh, and also in the hereafter, right? We will be journeying towards that, acquiring those qualities. So if we start today, we will be acquiring much greater levels of those generosity, of ilm, of goodness, of truthfulness, if we start from today, right? And that's what zuhur is all about. And that's what the preparation of the zuhur is. And tonight being the night of Thursday, right? As there is a hadith, I will mention this last hadith, that on every Thursday night, Allah opens the door of knowledge towards the heart of the Imam of the time. Whoever is the Imam of the time, every Thursday night, Allah opens the door of knowledge to the Imam of the time. And from this, the hadith says, the lovers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, the Shias of the Masumeen, they will gain knowledge as well, because they are connected to the Imam. Like as we said, we know for sure that in Ramadan, the 12th Imam prays the Salat on time. We do the same. And we also know, because Dua Iftitah is from the Imam. So I am doing something which the Imam is doing. If I like someone, the clothes that this person is wearing, the way he speaks, the way he walks, I try to replicate that. I'm wearing these, that's what fashion is, right? So when a person tries to replicate that, one person becomes like that and looks like that as well. Because he's doing exactly, wearing, drinking and all that like that person. Somehow there's some sort of resemblance comes about. So when Imam of the time is reciting Dua Iftitah, when he's praying on time, when he's waking up on Suhoor, right? We are synchronizing our activity with the Imam of the time. He's becoming a true Imam and we are behind him. He performs and we are following that. And then through, as the hadith says, when this knowledge comes to the Imam, from there it kind of transfers to us. I mean, Dua Iftitah itself, we don't really need, it's not a rocket science as such. It all has to do with our fitrah and with our nature. If you just read the translation, it's so beautiful. Right? The whole dua, the asma of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the attributes, the qualities of Allah, that are there. Joshan-e-Kabir, for example, at least in the month of Ramadan, we open and looks at, it's like beautiful song, it's like beautiful sort of poetry, which is describing the beauty of Allah, and our nafs and our fitrat becomes one with that, and there's so much pleasure in that. In Dua Iftatah as well, you will find that sort of latafat, sort of latif, very subtle nature in it, right? So Thursday night is that night. Thursday night is the night of ziyarat of Abu Abdullah Hussain. All of the Anbiya and Awliya and Imam Zaman goes to ziyarat of Imam Hussain on a Thursday night. It's a ziyarat night of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. It's highly recommended. Some of the hadiths are mind-boggling. One would really say that, wow, what type of hadith is it? But there's explanation of that hadith. In Kamilul Ziyarat, one of the famous book, which talks about the benefits of the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah Hussain, on a Thursday night, there's a hadith from the 6th Imam, which says that on every Thursday night, he asked his companion, do you do ziyarat of Imam Hussain on Thursday? He said, no, I'm very far, Medina and Karbala. He said, what do you mean? How is it not possible that you don't do Thursday night ziyarat? Because on a Thursday night, all of the Anbiya, from Adam till Khatam, they all come for the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah Hussain. And he doesn't stop here. He says, even Allah from the Arsh comes for the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah Hussain. That is Hussain. It's a very, very mysterious ziyarat, hadith, which requires explanation, obviously. What does it really mean? Arsh and Allah coming from the Arsh. Just very briefly, is all of the awsaf and rahmat, which is specific and special, descends on Thursday night in the shrine of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. That huzur and that presence, if somebody wants to connect to that, that is the place to be on a Thursday night. Then Imam also says that, what if you're far? From far, do the intention and say, Assalamu alaikum ya Abu Abdullah. It will reach, these distances are taken away if one have that love and intention and reaches and gives salams to Abu Abdullah Hussain alayhi salam. That's why we say, Ya laytana kunna ma'ak. We say that, oh, we wish we were with you, Imam Hussain. And that is what makes it possible, as we recite in Ziyarat Ashura, that, oh Allah, give us the same reward which is given to the Shuhada of Karbala. Same reward which they have achieved. They have fought. They have faced the arrows and sword. But we are asking for the same reward. This is the barakah and blessing and that special mercy on Imam Hussain alayhi salam and the zawar of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. What Imam have done, that he reached that level of qurb and nearness. Some say that Hussain gave everything what he has, everything. And we clearly see that. He has given everything, even that Ali Asghar. Even that Ali Asghar he gave. And in return, Allah says that Allah will give everything what Hussain wants. And that's why the Safina Hussain is considered to be the most swiftest Safina. Innal Hussain Misbahul Huda wa Safinatun Nijat. A person comes to the 8th Imam and he says that, I know you are the Imam, I love you as well, but with Hussain there is something else. Then Imam Raza says, the same for me. For me is the same. Hussain is something else. The way the Hussain was sacrificed, the ghurbat, the loneliness, witr al-mawtur that Imam Hussain alayhi salam faced. And to the extent, the amount of humility and humbleness. On the 9th night, Hussain says that these people are after me. You are free to go. To the ashab, he says. And I will guarantee you the Jannah, the shafaat of Rasul. Go, leave me alone. They are after me. But they all stayed. And the only one who broke the silence was Abul Fazl Abbas. Let's do tawassul to Abul Fazl Abbas, because to reach Hussain we have to do tawassul to Abbas. Because it says that Hazrat Abbas breaks the silence. He says, my master, what you are saying, may our life be sacrificed to you. May we be the sadaqah and slain for you. And then everybody gave bayah on that night after Hazrat Abbas gave that bayah. And that the day of Ashura comes, where the whole battalion, the whole ashab have been martyred, and there is only Abbas left. And here Hussein, he comes to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, Agha, please give me permission to fight. And he says, you are the standard bearer. You are the alamdar of the camp. He says, Agha, where is that camp anymore? There's nobody here. There's no soldiers here that I am the alamdar of. They're all shaheed. Now it is time for me to go. But whatever Mawla says, whatever Master says, mu'ti'u lillahi wa li rasuli ita'at, that obedience of Abbas. That's why he is known as Abdus Salih. And he is from the Salihin. When we give salam, Assalamu alayka ya ibadallahi salihin, our namaz. In the namaz there is salam for Abbas. In the namaz we give salam for him. Do focus towards that. When you say Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabi wa rahmatullah, our tasawwur is the Nabi. Assalamu alayka ya ibadallahi salihin. On the top of the top is Abbas in Salihin. That's why they say that Abbas have a maqam that all of the people in Jannah will be envy that maqam of Abbas. That level. Because he was ita'at, mu'ti'u lillah. Imam Hussein says that if you want, please fetch some water. There's no water for 3 days in the camp of Hussein. He was given the task to bring water. It was a test for Abbas. And Abbas goes, gets the water skin. I'm making very briefly. And then Sakina says to the children, my uncle is going to get water now. The water will be here soon. Here Abbas gets the water skin and he goes with the alam as well. So he's supporting the alam with his chest. And he has a spear. Some riwayat says that he only fought with the spear because he did not use the sword, because that would be symbolized as war, as battle, as fighting. Some say he only used the spear. And then he goes towards the Furat. His intention is Furat, is not war. His intention is to get the water. And that changes the whole demographic. That changes the whole art of war, because he's not going as a warrior. If he goes as a warrior, in Siffin they did not recognize, is it Ali or Abbas? If he goes for a war, he's going to get water. And he goes, he cuts open the ranks of the enemy. As he goes, he gets down in the Furat, he fills the water skin and he takes the water in his hand and he leaves it. He says, oh nafs, give and trap somebody else. This is Abbas, son of Ali. My master and the children of my master are thirsty. How can I take a sip of water? He did not drink. He did not take a sip of water. His loyalty of Abbas is this. And then as he was returning back, there was an enemy who hid behind the date palm. He moves forward and he severs the hand of Abbas in which he was holding the water skin. And he takes this water skin in the left hand, supporting the alam with his chest. And the little children were looking at this alam. As the alam was coming closer, Sakina and the children were becoming happy that the water is coming. My uncle is coming. And then eventually to the point that the left hand was severed as well. And he takes the water skin in his mouth. As they say, a very beautiful Agha Sarush have recited this poetry. He says, Abbas did not feel anything when his hands were cut off. He did not feel anything. But the arrow, when it pierced the water skin, that is the time Abbas felt the pain. The pain was felt for Abbas at that time. And here, and he looks to the heaven, to the sky, and Allah, there was a munadi, there was a voice echoed that, oh Abbas, your hajat, your desire to take the water is not granted. It's the mashiyat of Allah. But however, you will become the Babul Hawa'ij for everybody. That's why he's Babul Hawa'ij. Look at the maqam of Abbas, where Hussein is saying, Ya Kashiful Karban Wajhul Hussein. Hussein is saying that. Right? He is the Babul Hawa'ij for all karb, all calamities, all difficulties to be taken away. May all the difficulties, problems, issues be taken away from the Shi'ayan of Abul Fazl Abbas alayhi salam. Here as he moved forward, there's a rain of arrow that comes, and he couldn't really control himself on the water steed, and he falls on his face. There was no shaheed that falls on the face, but Abbas falls on the face. And here he gives my master my salam and my salutation to you. Hearing this, Hussein says, oh Abbas, my back is broken. As he moved towards Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he stops, he gets down from the horse and picks up the hand of Abul Fazl Abbas alayhi salam. Before he reaches Abbas, he kisses both the hands of Abbas, and finally he reaches to Abbas. He places the head of Abbas in his lap. As he places the head, Abbas moves the head from the lap of Hussein. He says, Abbas, are you disappointed with me? He says, no. I'm just looking that who will be there. You will be on the ground in few hours. He says, Abbas, my mother have arrived. As they say that the Masa'ib of Abbas is a point of focus and attraction to Imam Zaman alayhi salam. Tonight is the night of Abbas, night of Hussein, and night of Imam Zaman. Let this Masa'ib be a point of focus for our 12th Imam, so that we be in the du'as of our 12th Imam. And here Abbas says that, oh Mawla, oh my master, I have two wishes. Don't take my body in the tents. Because I promised the children that I will bring water to them. I'm very embarrassed. Don't take my body there. Leave me here. And the other is that, oh my master, when I came to this world, I saw your face first. Please, can you take the arrow from my eye? Can you clean the blood that is in my eye? Then here Imam Hussein alayhi salam says that I have a wish as well. Oh Abbas, all your life you called me master. I would like to hear from your mouth that you call me Abbas. Abbas felt so much close to brother, to Hussein, and finally he says that, oh my brother, and his ruh and his soul leaves the body. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi rajaun. Ala la'natullah ala qawm az-zalimin sayalamu alladhina zalamu ayya munqalibin yanqalibun. بفاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها وسر المستودع فيها بعدد ما أحاط به علمك بمولانا أبو الفضل العباس باب الحوائج. يا الله 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 يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك يا قاضي الحاجات يا كافي المهمات إنك على كل شيء قدير. رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة لأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات, especially for all marhumin and the marhumin of the sponsors of iftar tonight, and for the volunteers marhumin and your marhumin and those marhumin who have no one to recite Fatiha. Al-Fatiha ma salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء وذل لها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها كل شيء وبعزمتك التي ملأت كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء وبسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي يزاله كل شيء. يا نور يا قدوس يا نور يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين. اللهم اغفر للذنوب التي تحتك العصام. اللهم اغفر للذنوب التي تنزل النقام. اللهم اغفر للذنوب التي تغير النقام. اللهم اغفر للذنوب التي تحبس الدوام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تقطع الرجام. اللهم اغفر للذنوب التي تنزل البلاء. اللهم اغفر لكل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك وأستشفع بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك وأن توزعني شكرك وأن تلمحني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاز متزلزل خاشين أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانيا وفي جميع الأحوال المتوازيا. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجاته وعزم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عزم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكروك وزحرك وزحر عمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يملك الفرار من حكومات. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقضاء ساترا ولا لشيء من عمل القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك زلمت نفسي زلمت نفسي وتجارت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لومنك علي. اللهم مولا كم من قبيح سترته وكم من فاده من البلاء يقلته وكم من إسار وقيته وكم من مكروه دفعته وكم من ثناء جميل لست أحلا له نشرته. اللهم عزم البلاء وعفرة بسوء خالي وقصرت بعمالي وقعدت بأغلالي وحسبني وحبسني عن نفعي بعد عملي وخدعتني الدنيا بغرور قوم ونفسي بجنايتك ومثالي يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك أن لا يحجبوا عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي ولا تفزحني بخفي ما اتعلت عليه من سري ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكسرات الشهوات لي وغفلتي وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا وعلي في جميع الأمور أتوفا إلهي وربي من لي غيرك أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في عمري إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه أهوى نفسي ولم أعترض فيه من تزيين عدوي فعرف غرني بما أهوى وأسعده على ذلك القضاء فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعد حدودك وخالفت بعد أوامرك فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاءك وعلزمني حكمك وبلاغك وقد آتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا مقرا مذعنا معترفا لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليك في عمري غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في سعة رحمة اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري وفكني من شر وساقي يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عظمي ومن بعد خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي حبيني لابتداء كرامك وصالف بركابي يا إلهي وسيدي وربي أتراك معذبي بنار پیغمبرك بعد توحيدك وبعد من توام عليه قلبي من معرفتك ولهج به لساني من ذكرك وتعقده ضميري من حبك وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك خيرات أنت أكرم من أن تزيع من ربيته أو تعبد من أدنيته أو تشرد من عويته أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمت وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي أتسلط النعر على وجوه خضرت لعظمتك ساجدا وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقا وبشكرك ماهدة وعلى قلوب اعترافت بإلهيتك محققة وعلى ضمائر هوت من العلم بإحكام حتى سعرت خاشية وعلى جوارها سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك تعية وأشارت باستغفارك مذعنة ما هكذا ظن بك ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم يا رب يا كريم يا رب يا كريم يا رب وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها ألا عن ذلك بلاء ومكروه قليل مكسوه يسير بقاؤه قصير مدته فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهلك لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض يا سيدي فكيف لي وعنا عبدك زيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي لعي الأمور إليك أشكو ولم منها أزج وأبكي لعليم العذاب والشدة أم لطول البلاء ومدتي فلا إن سيرتني لعقوبات عقوباتي مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك وهبني صبرت على خر نارك فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي يفوقهم فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركتني ناطقا على زجنا إليك بين أهلها زجيج العاملين ولا أصرخنا إليك صراخ المستصرخين ولا أبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين ولا عنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين يا غياث آمال العارفين يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين ويا إله العالمين أفترك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجنا فيها بمخالفتهم وزاقت أعمى عذابهم بمعصيته وهبوسا بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرا وهو يزج إليك سجيجا معمل للرحمن ويناديك بصلب لسان أهل توحيدك ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك يا مولاي فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك أم كيف تعلمه النار وهو يأمن فضلك ورحمتك أم كيف يغرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفه أم كيف يتقلقل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقه أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا ربه أم كيف يرجو فضلك في إتقه منها فتتركه فيها هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبق لما عملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك فباليقين يقطع العلماء حكمت به من تعذيب جاهدك وقزيت به من إخلاد معاندك لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما وما كان لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت عن تملها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين وأن تخلد فيه المعاندين وأن تجلت ذات ثناؤك قلت مبتدعا وتتولت بالعنام متكرما أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون إلهي وسيدي فأسألك بقدرتك التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي هدمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها أنت حبالي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل قبيح أسررته وكل جهل أملته كتمته أو علنته أخفيته أو أظهرته وكل سيئة أمرت بإثبات الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلته شهودا علي مع جواره وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم وبرحمتك أخفيته وبفضلك سترته وأن توفر هزي من كل خير أزلته وإحسان أو إحسان فزلته أو بر نشرته أو رزق بسطته أو ذنب تغفره أو خطأ تستره يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقيم يا من بيده ناصعتي يا يا عليما بزري ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتني، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، أسألك بحقك وقدسك وعظم صفاتك واسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورة وبخدمتك موصولة، أو أعمالي عندك مقبولة، حتى تكون أعمالي وأعراضي كلها بردا واكد، وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي يا من عليه معولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، قوي على خدمتك جوارحي، واشدد على العزيمة جمانه، وهب للجدة جدا في خشيتك ودماما في الاتصال بخدمتك، حتى أسرها إليك في ميادين السابقين، وأسرع إليك في البارزين، واشتاق إلى قربك في المشتقين، وعود وعدنك وعدن ومنك زنو المخلصين، وأخافك مخافة الموقنين، واجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فاعرضه، ومن كادني فكده، واجعلني من أحسن عبدك نسيبا عندك، وأقربهم منزلة منك، وأقسهم زلفة لديك، فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك، وجد لي بجودك، وعطف علي بمجدك، واحفظني برحمتك، واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا، وقلبي بحبك متيما، ومن علي بحسن إجابتك، وعقل يسرتي، واغفر زلتي، فإنك قضيت على عبادتك على عبادك بعبادتك، وعمرتهم بدعائك، وزمنت لهم الإجابة، فإليك يا ربي نسبت وجهي، وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي، فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي، وبلغني منايا، ولا تقطع من فضلك ورجائي واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي يا سريع الرضا يا سريع الرضا يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء ومن اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غنى ارحم من راس مالك رجاء وسلاح البكاء يا سابق النقام يا دافع النقام يا نور المستوكشين في ظلم يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بما أنت أهله وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه عرزك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ज़ियारत वारसा पढ़ते हैं अपनी जानिब से अपने तमाम मरहूमीन की जानिब से क़ुर्बतन इलल्लाह। अस्सलामु अलैका या वारिस आदम सफ़वतिल्लाह अस्सलामु अलैका या वारिस नूहिन नबीयिल्लाह अस्सलामु अलैका या वारिस इब्राहीम खलीलिल्लाह अस्सलामु अलैका या वारिस मूसा कलीमिल्लाह अस्सलामु अलैका या वारिस ईसा रूहिल्लाह अस्सलामु अलैका या वारिस मुहम्मदिन हबीबिल्लाह अस्सलामु अलैका या वारिस अमीरुल मुमिनीन वलीयिल्लाह अस्सलामु अलैका या इब्न मुहम्मदिन अल-मुस्तफ़ा अस्सलामु अलैका या इब्न अलीन अल-मुर्तज़ा अस्सलामु अलैका या इब्न फ़ातिमत अज़-ज़हरा अस्सलामु अलैका या इब्न खदीजत अल-कुबरा अस्सलामु अलैका या सार अल्लाह व इब्न सारिह वल वित्र अल-मौतूर अशहदु अन्नका क़द अक़मत अस्सलात व आतैत अज़-ज़कात व अमरत बिल मअरूफ़ व नहीत अनिल मुनकर व अतअत अल्लाह व रसूलहु हत्ता अताकल यक़ीन फलअन अल्लाहु उम्मतन क़तलतका व लअन अल्लाहु उम्मतन ज़लमतका व लअन अल्लाहु उम्मतन समिअत बिज़ालिका फ़रज़ियत बि या मौलाई या अबा अब्दिल्लाह अशहदु अन्नका कुन्त नूरन फ़िल अस्लाब अश-शामिख़ा वल अरहामिल मुतहहरा लम तुनज्जिसका अल-जाहिलिय्यतु बिअनजासिहा व लम तुलबिसका मिन मुदलिहिम्माति सियाबिहा व अशहदु अन्नका मिन दआइमिद्दीन व अरकानिल मुअमिनीन व अशहदु अन्नका अल-इमामुल बर्रुत तक़ी الرزي الزكي الهادي المهدي وأشهد أن الأئمة من خلدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا. وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبيا بكم موقن بشرع ديني وخواتيني عملي وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. بأبي أنت وأمي يا ابن رسول الله يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عزمت الرزية وجلت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل السماوات والأرض. فلعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتحيت وتنقبت لقتالك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. فقصدت حرمك وأتيت إلى مشهدك، أسأل الله بالشان الذي لك عنده وبالمحل الذي لك لدي أن يصلي على محمد وآل محمد، وأن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن نبي الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها الشهيد وابن الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وابن المظلوم. لعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرزيت به. السلام عليك يا أولياء الله وابن وليه، ولقد عزمت المصيبة وجلت الرزية بك علينا وعلى جميع المسلمين. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك، وأبرأ إلى الله وإليك منهم. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحباء، السلام عليكم يا أصفياء الله ووداء، السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله، السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي محمد الحسن بن علي الولي الناصح، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي عبد الله. بأبي أنتم وأمي تبتم، وتابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما. فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم، فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ورحمة الله وبركاته. ज़ियारत हज़रत अबुल फ़ज़ल अब्बास इब्न अमीर अल-मोमिनीन पढ़ते हैं शब जुमा। अपनी जानिब से अपने तमाम मरहूमीन की जानिब से क़ुर्बतन इलल्लाह। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलामु अलैका या अबल फ़ज़ल अब्बास इब्न अमीर अल-मोमिनीन, अस्सलामु अलैका या इब्न सय्यिदिल वसीय्यीन, अस्सलामु अलैका या इब्न अव्वलिल क़ौम इस्लाम वअक़दिमिहिल ईमान वअक़विमहिम बिदीनिल्लाह वअहवतिहिम अलल इस्लाम। अशहदु लक़द नसहत लिल्लाहि व लिरसूलिहि व लिअख़ीका फ़निअमल अख़ुल मवासी। फ़लअनल्लाहु أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة استحلت منك المحارم وانتهكت حرمة الإسلام. فنعم الصابر المجاهد المحامي الناصر، والأخ الدافع عن أخيه المجيب إلى طاعة ربه، الراغب فيما زهد فيه غيره من الثواب الجزيل والثناء الجميل. وألحقك الله بدرجة آبائك في جنات النعيم. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء، السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء، السلام عليك يا مغيث الشيعة والزوار في يوم الجزاء، السلام عليك يا أنيس النفوس، السلام عليك يا أيها المدفون بأرض توس، السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى الرضا والتحية والثناء. السلام عليك وعلى آبائك السبعة وأبنائك الأربعة. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر والزمان. الأمان 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 من فتن الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان، السلام عليك يا مظهر الإيمان، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا قاطع البرهان، السلام عليك يا إمام زماننا هذا. أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته.